Thank you for joining us this evening. Regular scheduled council meeting of the Park City City Council, December 27th, 2016 at 7 p.m. Danielle, would you call the roll?
John Leonard.
Here.
George Glover.
Here.
Gary Aldrich.
Here.
Melvin Kerr. Tom Jones.
Here.
George Capps.
Here.
Joel Pumphrey.
Here.
Jim Schrader.
Here.
Quorum is present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Tonight, Councilman Gary Aldrich is going to lead in the invocation, and Councilman Joel Pumphrey is going to lead in the pledge. If everybody would please stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the many blessings that you've given us in this land that we live in and in the city that we live in. We would just ask for your guidance and wisdom tonight as we look over the details of the things that we need to do for the city of Park City. We just ask that you would bless and guide in everything that's said and done tonight. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. George,
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
is there a second? And Jim?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes 8-0. Tonight, under awards and presentations, I have for you the appointment of Terry Bill to the municipal court judge. Terry has currently served us as a city prosecutor for approximately 3 years. And we've talked extensively, and I'm excited about seeing him move forward now with Judge Keith moving on, and he's who I'm bringing forward for the appointment of our municipal judge. Tom
Make a motion to approve the appointment.
and Gary.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. And the next item is to swear in our new judge. So, Daniela? Sir?
Raise your right hand. State of Kansas, County of Sedgwick, City of Park City, I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully, to the best of my ability,
and faithfully, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of municipal court judge,
of municipal court judge.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Could you stand aside and give him an appointment slip?
Here, I'll take the microphone.
And the mayor, if you want to get him involved in that picture also.
Should he turn around and show it to you, or?
That's good.
That's
Okay.
all right. One more. There we go. Got it, thanks.
All right.
Sign it.
Thank you.
If you have a Facebook account, you'll see it on Facebook.
Just what you wanted. It's not official until it's on Facebook.
Snapchat will make him look like a dog or something.
Hey, all right. All right. Thank you for coming this evening so we could get you sworn in, Terry. The next item on the agenda is staff reports, and we'll start with our city administrator, Jack Whitson. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Been on vacation, so I haven't been doing a whole lot, but I have been doing some stuff, primarily with our street construction. If you've traveled at 53rd and Hydraulic, it's pretty nasty as far as traffic control. The chief went down there and saw some things and made some suggestions. I'm in the process of making sure some of those things get enacted. Supposed to meet Thursday with the headman for Caneo. If the chief might be there Thursday, I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna do some tweaking, like put a four-way stop sign up there instead of every man for himself, so to speak. Also, I got our project number for our bridge on 61st Street, so we're got an official number. Also want to remind you guys that in March, we'll start the 53rd Street intersection. So all the fun we've had down here on hydraulic, we get to move to Broadway. So basically, I've had a couple of inquiries about couple lots in Bear Hill. And so there's still some interest there. And so hopefully we'll get that all taken care of. So that's everything I have. If there's any specific questions, I'd be more than glad to try to answer them for you.
Does anybody have any questions for Jack? Not seeing any. We'll move on to our Director of Public Works, Rick Norman. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works report for this evening, December 27th, 2016. Before my department comments, I would like to mention that Sedgwick County has established us as a drop-off zone for Christmas trees. They just put their sign up today so that anyone that has a Christmas tree that they would like to discard, if they can take that to the west end of McLean Park, they come out periodically and chip that up and recycle that. So that will be available until the 23rd of January. The Park Department, we did complete the matting on the east side of the Grove Street Flume. When the weather warms up next year, we're going to plant that with buffalo, so we won't, but we did get the matting down to stop the erosion on that. After the winter storm, Park Department did complete snow and ice treatment on the facilities and the crosswalk. We did have a section of the split rail fence up here on the north side of City Hall that we repaired. In our street department, we had to reset a concrete cap on a stormwater inlet down in Wyndham. This must have got damaged a while back, so we had to pull it over and we regrouted around that. So we did complete that. On December 15th, one day prior to the winter storm hitting, we did complete another patch, 150 square feet. The year-to-date total on that is 3,834 square feet. And during the winter storm, that Saturday and Sunday, we applied 40 tons of our mix to the streets. The Water and Sewer Department, the average work orders per day from the 1st to the 15th was 18. Be glad to answer any questions.
Rick, since you brought up the manhole, and I know one of the things we usually do annually is we do some manhole rehabilitations, and I know we've been trying to work on that. Can you just kind of update us where we're at with that process?
Yeah, we're putting together a package where we're going to do, I think we've normally done about 12, and I think we're looking at doing 10 of those, and we expect to get that out to bid and probably bid that sometime in January, Jack.
I've been working on the specifications. I think early January, we'll be able to have that package out. Probably have it for the council at the end of January.
Okay.
We're looking at about 30 manholes.
Yeah.
But we were looking at 10
What was it,
for
10?
raise and rehab.
Oh, okay, 10.
Right. Thanks, Rick. Does anybody have any questions for Rick? Not seeing.
Mr. Mayor, I had one other item I keep slipping my mind.
Okay.
We'll be bidding the security system and cable system and stuff for City Hall early January, so we'll have it for the council to review here in January, the bids on that.
All right. Thank you. That being all from our staff reports, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Jim?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a second? Joel?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes 7-0. The next item under new business, item A, which is considered the purchase of additional trees to be planted in the parks as recommended by the Park and Recreational Advisory and Tree Board at a cost of $2,400 from the 2016 budgeted funds. You can also see in your packet, our park supervisor put together kind of the overflow of those costs.
Okay, it did. That was awful.
All right. All right, so we're back. Sorry about that. So you do see the one thing in the packet that our supervisor had put together.
It sounds like in the 50s.
Now we'll try the left ear. Let's try it.
All right, we'll try that again. Does anybody have any questions about the trees that are on the agenda? Tom?
Take it, we're not installing them, that's installed?
No, that's us putting them in.
When I read it, it looked like it included installing them. It's, okay.
No, we install them.
I was going to say typically we always buy them. Bruce goes and puts them in.
Yeah, it says labor excluded in
Yeah.
that quote.
Oh, yeah, the footnote at the very bottom.
Yeah.
I see it now.
Typically, what I ask them to do, if they do a purchase like this, is to purchase them, have the nursery hold the trees until such time as we're ready to install them. I don't want them sitting down at the plant and not getting watered and dying and stuff, so I always request that the nursery keeps those trees until spring when we start to install them and not let them sit down there.
It looks a little pricey, but, okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments? George?
Yeah, there are a lot of dead trees I've noticed, especially on Grove Street. For whatever reasons, they die. They have some of the wilt and some of the other aging processes. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to purchase additional trees to be planted in the parks as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Tree Board, at a cost of $2,400 from 2016 budgeted funds.
Okay. Is there a second? Jim?
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda, item B, under new business, is consider the extension of the Home Buyers Incentive Program. Jack, you want to start covering the homeowner program for us?
Yes, sir. Here is a synopsis of the current program. Subdivisions, subdivisions where the developer is not current on his taxes, they're only eligible for a $500 program, $2,500 from the city, $3,000 from the builder. The home buyer has three options to get the builders or developers incentive portion. Is either a price reduction, some add-on equal to $3,000, or help them with the closing cost, or a mixture of any of those three. The reason that's done that way is that many years ago, when we had an incentive program, the builder just had to reduce the price of his home. Well, it was kind of like a used car lot type deal. They up the value and then bring it back down. So they didn't have any skin in the game, so to speak. So to keep them guessing on that, we give the buyer an option of those three options. Now, if they're current on their taxes, which is why we try to incentivize it, is then they get a $10,000 incentive, $5,000 from the city, $5,000 from the builder developer. Same three options. This is where I think we need to look at it, because I don't think there's equity here. If a builder leases a home to someone, say they didn't sell it, and they lease it to someone for 1 year, the builder gets either the $2,500 or the $5,000 city incentive. On the duplex, we have it that the builder of the duplex must lease both sides. There are two sides, lease both sides for 1 year, and he only gets $2,000. So I don't see that that's very equitable there between a house builder, because a duplex can value at $250,000 just as much as some of these houses at $150,000 to $200,000. So I don't know that that's an equitable situation. At Bear Hill, this is one that we've been doing. I suggest we continue to do it. Purchase price of a lot is $20,000. Our incentive is $15,000 once the home closes, and there's no restriction on the incentive usage. When we look at whether they pay their taxes, that's both their specials and their property tax, not just their specials. They got to pay their property tax and the specials, and not just one or the other in order to get our incentive money. So I would recommend that we continue the program. It's been very helpful to us. The only one that you might want to take a look at is the equity in the two leasing situations.
Thanks, Jack. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? George?
Yeah, do we have any numbers on how many people have actually used the incentive program and that we've actually done business with them?
This year?
Yeah,
Over 28.
28?
Yeah, it'd be all the new homes that we
Okay,
sold.
Thank you.
So it has proved to be an effective tool to move some of the lots that we've had. This is a plan that we've had for several years that we always extend out for a year at a time. Jack did bring up the part about the difference between a builder leasing out a home or a builder leasing out both sides of a duplex, that maybe that's not very equal on both sides. I think we could look at it from a couple of different perspectives. One, we could lower the builder lease out and raise the builder duplex to try to make it a little bit more comparable to each other. It would be good to hear some discussion on what everyone up here thinks, on some ideas on what we could do with that, to maybe, so it doesn't sound so awkward when you're saying it out loud. Just you get a duplex who's basically got two families in a home that's, and the duplexes have been very nice, large on the tax roll, and they only get a $2,000 rebate or incentive, and then the builder, if they can't sell their house and then they lease it out, they can get $2,500 if the taxes are current, or $5,000, or $2,500 if they're not current, and $5,000 if they are current. Gary?
Well, I know when we first started the program that, obviously we didn't contemplate duplexes in the picture at that time. In as much as the fact that the duplexes are probably close to double in terms of the value on the tax rolls to what a single family would be. And I think that, do they pay 2 connection fees?
Yes.
So they're paying double connection fees in terms of that too.
Double permit fee.
Double permit fees. And so, I I'm almost thinking that they should be treated as two dwellings, as we would treat two separate individual homes. And I really wouldn't have a problem with that, because I think we need to encourage that.
It has been very effective, especially some builders, the housing market is better than it has been, but there's still some risk. And if they know that if they can't sell it for whatever reason, they do have an ability to lease it and at least get some money to pay the first year's taxes. Basically, we get it back in taxes.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, that's why I think it would be a very, very good thing to treat it as two dwellings.
So Gary, can you just kind of throw out there what your suggestion dollar-wise? I mean, are you saying each side
Well, I mean, in terms of
for the same
in
builder
terms
lease?
of the total value, I mean, we're looking at basically 2 times a normal dwelling for that. Two of the connection fees, 2 of the, hookups and everything else. I wouldn't have a problem with putting the same criteria on both sides that you would put on either in any other single dwelling.
The only thing I would say is if you're talking about each side of the duplex being eligible for that, it could become difficult for us to track internally
Yeah.
versus just one property. And that's how we've been doing it now. It's one property. They get both sides, where it could be a little bit more,
I guess
a
the only
little
thing
bit more for us to try to manage now which side was out and did we pay on this side
I think
or
there'd
that
be
side.
enough incentive from the owner to make sure that we are aware of what was going on, because basically they're going to give us the proof that we need, right?
right, they have to show us a contract. What we do now is, I don't give them any incentive unless they lease both sides.
Well, I would say that, we
So
should treat
you
them,
can double, you say, okay, you do both sides, and so you get 5,000
right.
and 10,000, for example, if you counted it individual.
Well, it's basically 2 properties.
Right.
So I don't see a problem with that, and I think that as far as managing it, the builder is going to make us aware, because they absolutely want that rebate.
That's true.
They do, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Jim?
I'll clarify one thing before I say what I was going to say, but is it, on the duplex, is it 2,000 total or 2,000 per side?
2,000
2,000
total.
Total. So just to make it simple, you were giving out, okay, 5,000 on a home and 2,000 on a duplex, $7,000. Tagging on with, I was going down the same road you were, Gary, just saying, make it per unit. That's that's an average of $2,333 a unit. Round it and go 4,600 for the duplexes and 2,300 for the house. I mean, and you stay at the same place in our budget. We're not spending any more money. You're just reallocating the funds per a formula.
What you could do, see, on the duplex, has nothing to do whether you paid your taxes or not. We've got to keep that in there.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would recommend that, like Gary was saying, we would treat each side of the duplex like a house, okay? So let's take, for example, they did not pay their taxes, and they have two leases, so they'd get $5,000, okay? If they have paid their taxes and they get 2 leases, they get $10,000. That's treating them just like each side a house. But for us, accounting-wise, it's a lot easier if we say, you must lease both sides at once, though, in order to do that, but you get double the money. And I think they'd just eat all over that.
You're really,
They were excited about the 2,000, so.
you're really incentivizing a bunch of duplexes to be built in town
Right.
by doing that.
Well, there's
what-
probably open lots, another 15 or so lots open now that's not built on for duplexes over at Prairie Hills.
Okay.
And then down at High Ridge, down there at the corner of Hydraulic, there's a bunch of duplex lots, but nobody's done anything with it.
Okay. Well, the only thing about what you're saying is taking the duplex from 5,000 to now 10,000, you know, you've allocated a lot more money towards this, so do we have a place for that money to come
Well, if you
from?
double the permit fee, I mean,
That's where we collect the funds from, is from the hookup fee and the permitting fee. So basically, we're refunding that back in the incentive process.
And I may
So-
not have a handle on those fees are that high? They're more than
They're not.
$10,000?
They're not. No, they're not quite that high, at all.
Okay. Well, so I'm tracking.
Just where a portion of that cost come from.
I think we figured somewhere around $2,000.
Yeah,
per
we're
house.
2,250.
Depends on the
15,
value of the house.
if 15 duplexes get built and you just spend another 5,000 per duplex.
But you're just
That's
double.
fair. I'm just making sure we got the money for it. And that's why I was docking down the single family and reallocating it to the duplex was the only
I
difference
mean,
in
you
what I
could
was
do
saying.
that. I'm just saying that would be an example, like Gary was saying, equalizing it,
Yeah,
you know. So you don't have to go that high. You could say,
75,000, yeah.
Yeah.
I support what you're saying. I was just trying to figure out, get something on the table first, start talking about
Yeah.
a
the
specific
problem with the
formula.
house is if he sold the house, that would be his incentive if he sold it. So to give it an equal, that's the reason why it's equaled out. If he leases it or sells it, that's what the incentive is. If you try to do it less for incentive, I don't know. The only
Okay.
place where it hits you at, it would be on your duplexes.
Right.
That would be the only place that it would really hit you is on your duplexes.
Well, and if it was an owner-occupied home, they'd still get the same rebate. The only thing that would be docked was a rented, single-family
Right.
house.
Right.
Because you'd still want the families to come, you know, that are building and buying a
And
house.
the good thing too, it takes us off of the tax rolls for paying the specials. Because on some of
Yep.
these, the special's gonna be $2,500 a year.
Oh, it's a good program.
So that means we don't have to pay the $2,500 every year because we take it out of off of the tax rolls. So, I mean, not off the tax rolls, but not have to pay the specials. That's another benefit for us to do this.
Okay. We've started some good discussion, which is what we wanted to do. So,
Yeah.
John.
Question I had, I was reading through this earlier, I think you might have mentioned this, but I guess I'm kind of hung up on the developers that are not current on taxes.
Right.
But
You still want them to sell a lot and take the specials off of us. If we don't give them a incentive, they're gonna go to Bel Air or someplace else, take their property off the specials, and we're still stuck paying the specials. So that's why it's half of what the other is, if they pay the taxes. That's the incentive for them to pay their taxes, is they get double the money that way.
It's a hard pill to choke down.
It
It
is.
is, it is, but-
I feel like the incentive is if we give them nothing, if they don't pay their taxes, and give them a significant amount if they do pay their taxes.
Well, they don't build here and they go over to Bel Air
Well,
or Mays or someplace else and do it.
But if
It's-
we got people that are not paying their taxes, I mean,
We want them off the tax rolls though. See, if they build a house, they.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying.
I think a better way would be if a builder that is behind, that owns property in another municipality and then owns property here, if the other municipality has some type of incentive and there's nothing here, they're gonna wanna go build this one out and still continue to not pay this one because that's the only reason, is try to make our deal look a little sweeter. If they're in the rear somewhere else, they might go ahead and start filling out their property here because they're getting something back. And it is just a bad, I mean, nobody gives me an incentive to pay my taxes. So I just get to write the
Late
check.
fees.
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
the
incentive.
lower
Yeah.
incentive, the 5,500, the reason we picked that, is that's what Maze's is currently, is 2,500.
If you're not current on your taxes.
So,
Slippery slope.
It is, isn't it? John, do you have anything else?
No.
Tom?
I'm struggling with increasing the twin homes or that much. I can see stepping it up a little bit, but what we're doing is providing an incentive for a builder that's gonna go in there and buy it and keep it. He's gonna do it anyway.
or you won't build here, one or the other.
Well, I think there's a lot of duplexes being built around and with no incentives. You go down to 45th and Hillside and look at a couple blocks there. They're building them over east of Keachai. We've got an incentive program. I just don't think we need to up it to as much as we're looking at here. I don't have a problem keeping some of it, but I just think that we're stepping out and making it so I wouldn't build a house. I'd build twin homes. I'd get more money out of it.
They're selling those too, by the way, not just keeping them. So they are selling them.
Okay.
Okay, but Tom, what's your suggestion? Because what we're looking at is, does it look weird that a builder can build a single-family home, turn around and lease it and get 5,000, or a duplex, or somebody can come in and build a duplex and get 2,000?
I think that we need to bring the duplex up, but I don't think
So
we
do you
need to
have-
bring it up to like 2 houses.
So do
because
you have a recommendation?
I could see it going to 3,000 a side.
3,000 a side?
Right.
Okay. That gives me a better
But
feel
you've got
of where you're
a
at.
different property when you get done than you have a single-family home. So I think it's going to be assessed different eventually. I mean, I don't think they'll hold the assessment value that, there may be a little bit more, but it's also more square footage than a single-family house on a lot. So, I don't know.
Okay. Gary, you were lit up.
No, I'm good. I just had my question answered, so.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Because the incentive plan's good. I think we need to keep it. It's been beneficial for us. We can keep it like it is. We can make an adjustment. That's kind of what it's here for, but it currently expires on the 31st. So it'd be nice to have some idea on where we want to go this year. Gary?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we keep the incentive plan with an adjustment that Tom recommended, that we go to 3,000 a side on the duplexes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Both sides have to be leased at the same time.
Correct.
Both sides have to be leased, right, Tom?
And we're leaving the single family unchanged.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Is there any more discussion? Not seeing any. Sorry, I thought you were getting ready to light up. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda is item C, which is a discussion item, notifying customers with delinquent utility accounts of pending interruption of service via an automated telephone call versus mailing a paper notice. This would require an amendment to the municipal code. Daniela.
Mayor and council, staff has been looking at changing the way we communicate with customers. Recently, we implemented the e-bill, which has been very successful. We've lowered our postage costs by quite a bit. Staff is also pretty excited about not having to spend about half a day on mailing those out. On delinquent notices, we send out a postcard that looks similar to this. Currently, we contact delinquent utility customers via postcard around the 20th of the month. The postcard states the balance due, the date that it's due, and when they would be disconnected. According to our municipal code, notices are to be mailed to customers at their last known address. So in order to change this process, we would need to update our municipal code. Some information about our delinquent notices. We send out on average, and this is a 12-month, so in the past 12 months, on average, we've sent out about 580 delinquent notices every month. We pay full postage for a postcard, which is 34 cents. So if you include paper, ink, the staff time, we're looking at about $6,000 a year we spent on just mailing out delinquent notices. This new opportunity we found out at a training. Our utility clerk went to a training, and there was a small city that was trying it out, and it was pretty successful, so she came to me, and we would like to try it out. There would be an implementation period. The implementation period, let me back up a little. The cost on doing the phone calls. The phone calls would be done by our financial software called Encode. They would actually make the phone calls. They would charge us per phone call, and it would be an automated deal. it would cost us 9 cents a phone call. So for a year, on average, 580 customers, it would cost us about $1,200 a year. There would be no preparing delinquent notices or printing or ink. It would just be the report that we pull. It would just be mailing it off to our assigned rep at Encode. There would be an implementation period. The city lacks current good contact information for our customers. There's a lot of residents who have been living here for quite some time that may have moved or may have changed a phone number and email address, and they don't quite update it with us. Some customers come in and just ask for their balance when they're here, or they'll call, and we continue to get notices mailed returned to us. So there would be a period of time where we would have to heavily market that we would be going to a phone call and ask customers, residents, to please update their information with us. And then once that's done, then we could go to the phone calls. I believe this would save us time. It would save us money. It would save staff time. It would notify our customers in a timelier manner. So if you receive a phone call on the 20th that says you're going to be turned off in the next 7 days if you don't come in, it may prevent someone from being actually turned off and charged our $35 shut-off fee. Again, all this requires a change in Chapter 15 of our municipal code. So if this is something that you would like for us to proceed, all I need is a blessing, and we can mark it again to customers to please update their information. We could do something fun. There's a lot of cities in Kansas that are doing this. I actually read right before I walked in here, the city of Lawrence is doing this, and to get customers to actually come in and update their information. They're doing an incentive. They're doing a gift card. Update your information online, so people aren't actually coming in. It reduces the flow here. Update your information online, and you could win a gift card. So make it fun. And then in the next couple of meetings, we could come back with the proposed changes to our municipal code. So I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Daniela. This is just another area where we can start to streamline what we're doing within our current operations and try to help shave a little bit more costs on what we're doing things. And we talk about all the time staff wearing multiple hats. This is going to free up some time where that can be generated through Encode. We can process out the phone calls, and then they make the phone calls. And we're, once again, not printing stuff, and we can get something done for 9 cents versus the 39-cent postage, and not to mention the labor and paper costs that go into that. I know Danielle brought this to me right after we did our e-billing, another thing, and I recommended that we get this back to you by this meeting so we can look at going forward with hopefully doing this so we can continue to go green. George?
Well, maybe it's a little early to ask technical questions, but is there a certain time of the day you'd call, or if no one answers the phone, does it go to, well, do you leave a message on the answering machine, or is it too early to be asking those questions?
Those are great questions, or questions I have written down, but we have, we didn't schedule a meeting with Encode. We were going to have a phone meeting to ask those questions. I didn't want to proceed until I got a blessing from the council.
Okay.
But we would, yes, we would ask. There should not be one phone call, but if there's 2 phone calls, it would double the cost because it's per phone call. And there would, if there's a voicemail, there would be a voicemail left.
George?
Yeah, I really like the idea. Anytime you're saving the city money, you're going from 6,000 to 1,200. I think that's a plus the amount of hours that the staff's having to spend doing the postcard, so I'm in favor of it. I appreciate all the work that you've done.
Tom, were you trying to light up?
No, I just don't know. I think about the people who don't have phones, and then I also think about the people that have cell phones and they don't have their voicemail set up. You're going to pay 90 cents to get nothing.
Sure. I pay
9 cents,
9 cents? Okay.
not 90. That's the only reason why we do
I got
this.
a head
It's
cold.
cheaper
My head's
than
flared
mailing
up,
a
so-
stamp. Yeah.
We have a question that we haven't asked yet, but we will be asking if a text could be sent also.
Okay.
John?
For people that have like an email set up for like our e-bill stuff, I mean, can they email? Is that something
We could,
instead of the phone call? I
that
guess?
would be a different route. The reason we went with the phone call was, and this is just a conversation that I've had with our utility clerk and myself, is
Right.
that it's easier to call someone or leave a voicemail with someone than email. A lot of people choose not to have computers or choose not to have emails, but a lot of them do have phones. Plus, it's a quicker way maybe than an email, especially when you're dealing with your water.
And sometimes it's probably just credit card number changed or.
Yep.
So a conversation, you can't do that obviously off email. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Gary?
Just a suggestion, I know my cell phone carrier has gone to paperless billing, and they send reminder notices out of the due date. So, I mean, that's another option as far as a text goes. You might want to look at as an option.
Okay, thanks. Jim?
Well, I really like the idea and the discussion here too. So this is just for discussion. We're not making the decision here yet tonight.
Well, we'd be making a decision to go forward if that would be the motion, and then Danielle is going to start the conversation with Encode. If for some reason we're uncomfortable with the answers that we're getting and we don't feel good about going forward with it, we'd come back to you and let you know.
Okay.
But we don't want to waste time with Encode or our time asking questions until we know if it's something that the council's wanting to do.
I really like the forward thinking of it, so I would move that we proceed with researching this and make sure it works to proceed with implementing it.
So you want to make a motion?
Yeah, make that a motion.
Okay. George, did you want a second for discussion?
Sure, I'll second it. I was going to make that motion, but I'll second it.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we go back to the previous item, because I need a clarification?
Yes.
On all the builder stuff, there's a penalty if they don't pay their taxes, they get less. In this duplex, if the developer don't keep the taxes up for the development of the duplexes, they're not allowed to collect the money, or do they collect less money?
Okay, we'll come back to Gary, since you made the motion. If
Get half of the 3,000, or?
Okay, so on the regular builder lots, if they don't keep them up, they don't get it, right?
Well, they get
Builders, they get
2,500.
2,500.
Okay.
And then,
If they're up to date, they get 5,000.
Oh, I see.
so Jack's just looking for clarification on the duplexes. Are we doing the same thing where if they were in the rears on the taxes, it would be 1,500 or,
I would support that,
okay?
because it's pretty much the same strategy that we have with the individual lots.
Tom, did you hear that? No. Okay, since you second that, so Jack brought this back. On the builder of the duplexes, we're currently doing the 3,000, which we approved. But if we look at what a builder does, they get half of what's available to them, which is the 5,000. Gary is okay if on that builder of the duplex, if they're in the rears on their taxes, they would get 1,500 versus the 3,000. Okay, so we have an amended motion. Make sure the council understands, and then we'll vote on that again to the change.
And I'd second that.
Okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 7-0. That'll bring us to our last item on the agenda, which is consider accepting the ownership responsibility of a 12-inch cast iron water line located at the North Road right-of-way at 45th Street North from Hydraulic Avenue to Hillside Avenue as requested by the City of Bel Air. Doug, did you have something? Just a minute. Okay. That's all right.
Did I get punched?
Maybe it was Danielle. Somebody was lit up. Did you have something?
I wanted to clarify that
the incentive on the duplexes was $1,500 if they're behind in their taxes, and then $3,000 if they were current per side. Yes. All right, Gary?
I guess my question at first glance on this was two things. First of all, it's a 12-inch cast iron water line, which throws a whole lot of red flags to me in terms of maintenance, age, cost to replace, and a number of different things, not least of which could be corrosion in the line, which could cause all kinds of other things that we've seen in the headlines. And the other thing, I drove down there this morning, and I'm not sure what the purpose of that line is, but I don't think it's benefiting Park City at all that I'm aware of. So I don't understand why we would want to take probably a liability to the city of Bel Air if it belongs to them and put it on our books for no benefit to Park City.
Okay. Tom?
I think the reason this is on here. That line is being realigned, or was to be realigned at Hillside and 45th Street because of road construction. Bel Air didn't want to spend the money to lower it or move it, and so they were abandoning it, and they were offering it all to Wichita. And I thought that since we had 4 houses down by Wyndham that are in that area that have sewer in the backyard or behind their houses, are being serviced by that line, that we ought to consider it. I think at some point, part of that is going to be in Wichita. I know from Hillside to Oliver will go into Wichita because they've got a line on the south side, but they don't have one in this area. And that CCUA line through there to Bel Air is the only line that's there. Iron pipe, I'd say probably half the pipe in the ground in Sedgwick County is iron, and some of it's brand new. We put it in all the time, ductile iron. There's transite concrete pipe that's lost worse pipe. So I think that Bel Air has gotten the situation somewhat under control down there on the one guy that was complaining because they've run water tests from hydrants and stuff on the house and had no problems, but he had it inside. So I think that the issue is an internal house problem at one house. But anyway, I don't know if we can legally take that line, but I'd like to pursue it before we just give it up. There might be some restrictions there with the city of Wichita too. And not only our restrictions with our water agreement, but some other restrictions down through there too. So I just don't want us to give up something and wish we'd have pursued it a little farther before we gave it up.
So right now, the city of Bel Air has asked us if we would like to inherit that line from them. Their plans are they are going to abandon that. They're kind of giving us first dibs at it if we'd like it. Otherwise, they're just going to abandon it. The city of Wichita is probably going to take that over. You also have in your packet the water agreement that we have with the city of Wichita and just what it talks about with servicing people here. And there's a highlighted point in there. So Tom's right. There might be something in there where we would have to ask the city of Wichita if we could serve some of those people that could be served by that line.
If right now what they're looking at doing is capping that line at what was our service area in 85, and then on the other side of Hillside capping it and abandoning it in between those two areas. Right now that line's hooked up to CCUA off of hydraulic. We would just continue to service those houses until we worked out some kind of an agreement if we took it. Or we could leave Bel Air having service that until we decide what we're going to do with it. I just didn't want us to step away and not look at the option. And that's the only thing I'm asking council tonight is that we consider this, pursue it before we say no, instead of just banning it.
This originally came to me, and I can't see why we would want to take on that liability. And Tom's been pretty passionate about that. We really need to look at that and consider it, and that's why I brought it for you all. John?
I understand what he's saying, that they're gonna abandon, what's in it for Park City, I guess, would be my question. How does this make us, our services better? And I'm not, I'm just trying to understand I understand you said 4 houses that this may be able to service.
Well, there's about 7 or 8 houses down there, but there's 4 of them that are right in there at Wyndham, in that cutoff,
Who do they have service with now?
Bel Air.
They come through this line here?
Yep.
So if they abandon the line, those people don't have water?
They'll go to Wichita.
They'll go to Wichita. Wichita will service them.
And we put a Wyndham sewer line right behind their houses.
Okay, so if, let's say Wichita services them, Wichita would take this same line?
They'll annex them and take it, yeah.
Right now, they're in no city limits? How old is this line, do we know?
Pardon?
1952. Wouldn't be that.
We don't provide those folks sewer services now?
No.
Rick? I'll just bring Rick up for a couple of comments from staff and.
I may
John, if
have
you
a little
question, just let me
information to provide. This is essentially a mile line from Hydraulic to Hillside. I would have guessed maybe 5 services on that line. The one sewer connection probably sits a quarter to a half mile off the road, and it's butted up to Wyndham. That's the reason for that, because of the close proximity. The operations and maintenance on this is a 12-inch cast iron pipe put in the 50s. The materials that they used back then and the methods in which they put those in is not how we normally do this. Today we would use thick wall plastic. I don't know what the condition of that pipe would be. The location of part of that pipe is under the shoulder of the road. If there's a main break, you're going to fix the main break, and you're also going to fix the road. It does cross in 2 places. If we were to take this over, we would have to convert the meters to make them compatible with our system. This line is currently the dead end for Bel Air, which means they have to go down there and flush the end of that line out in order to maintain a chlorine residual. We would have to do the same thing. So you're probably going to dump more water on the ground than you would supply with 5, 6, 7 houses. I think what they do is go down in the morning and turn a blow-off valve on and go back in the evening and turn that back on. The potential cost for any relocations would be very expensive. We had to spend $75,000 down here on the corner to have some of ours moved. There would also have to be hydrants or some type of flushing mechanism put on the end of these pipes to make this work for us. So that's the operations and maintenance portion of this. We have some concerns.
Thanks, Rick. John, do you have any follow-up questions?
I guess I'm just trying to wrap my. So why would Wichita do this then? I mean, if this thing is this bad and the maintenance of it and it services 5 people, I just can't imagine Wichita taking on something like this for 5 houses. I guess I'm always nervous when someone tries to give you something for free, especially when it's 50, 60 some years old.
Me too.
I guess. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Gary?
These 5 houses or so, in what city did they reside? Are they in Bel Air,
I think it's Sedgwick County.
Sedgwick County?
I think the first The west half of that, I think, is Sedgwick County, and as you get up closer to Hillside, that may be the city of Wichita, that housing development up and through there.
So where does Falcon Run, Falcon Falls rather, fall? What city?
That's Wichita, isn't it, Jack? They're on the west side of
So the
Hillside.
south end of Falcon Falls ends on 45th Street, where that line is.
Correct.
There is a development in there, I think
So-
it's city of Wichita.
So there's approximately from Wyndham Creek, the south entrance of Wyndham, to Falcon Falls is county.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know where you're headed for annexation purposes, and let me give you some historical background.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tough lawyer named Doug Mosier who worked for the city of Wichita, and we had a little legal battle over Heights High School in the area there, and it was agreed to that that area would only be annexed by the city of Wichita. Park City would not annex it as part of the terms of our deal. Even if Wichita said, go ahead and annex them, state law prohibits any city to annex them unless they decide to do it by their own volition. So we couldn't force them to annex.
So then it sounds like Wichita won, so they own it. Basically, whether it's county or not, they have first right of refusal, if you will.
Well, that's my recollection. That's my recollection. We did some horse trading, and we got Lake Woods, and they got that area, and Heights High School. And
So it kind of sounds like that
Falls and stuff. So
Wichita would end up taking that line because of the fact that they have Falcon Falls.
I don't know.
I mean,
It would kind of make sense because they could loop their system.
Right.
If we were doing it, I would say, Bel Air, you pay us to extend our plastic line that goes up to Steve's Crossing, which is the south part of Wyndham, and we extend it 1,000 feet and put these people on that line and forget about the concrete line. I mean, the cast iron. The problem I have with it is it's on the edge of the road. If they ever widen that street,
Right. It's going to be under the
the
road.
city would be forced to replace that line at a deeper level outside the limits of the road. That's what happened down here, and it cost us $80,000, and we just had, gosh, maybe 4 or 5 spots. Just individual spots cost us $80,000 just for
Yeah.
that. So,
And you know, at some point, that probably will happen.
well, I imagine with Falcon Falls doing well and everything, it
And it's a
might have to
major,
happen.
it's a major route. Basically, 45th Street is a pretty straight-through route, and it's getting extended all the time.
Yeah, but if it ever happens, then the owner of the water line would be responsible for
Right.
moving it. and-
Sounds like Wichita owns it to me. Whether they physically have it now or not, it's basically, by virtue of Falcon Falls, they've got it. That's my take, anyway.
Okay, Jack,
That was what I was gonna bring up.
I mean, just come back to what John was saying, just with, I mean, if we look at ROI on this, it's pretty bleak. It's a huge risk and liability, which is why I would see the city of Bel Air completely fine with walking away from it, because they see what the potential cost could be in the future for the amount of customers that it services. Tom?
Again, I was surprised it was on there tonight, but I'm glad it was. I just would like to have this as something that before we say no, we can go find out some information on it. I would be willing to pursue that and bring it back, unless this council doesn't want to do it. And if you just want to say no tonight without even thinking about it, do it.
I think we have to have an answer tonight. The city administrator of Bel Air reached out to me and said they need an answer by the first of the year, because they're currently talking with the city of Wichita over it. I can't see any positive in why we'd want to do it, and especially when staff is recommending that we don't do it either. John?
I would hope that we would be part of that discussion, since they will be coming into the area down there by the apartments and probably plugging that line. So, if it's abandoned and Wichita takes it over, then they will have to plug it somewhere around 45th and Hydraulic.
Okay. John?
Sewer services, are there, I know Wichita's over at Falcon Falls, but does Wichita have sewer services in that area?
We do.
Right.
Falcon Falls, they do. They have sewer.
Right,
It's-
I know that. I know Falcon Falls would, but.
Well,
this is
the
not-
area that I was talking about is the 4 houses that finish off that square on that 80 acres.
Right.
There's 2 more sections of in between there, quarter sections.
Yeah, Gary?
You know, Tom just kind of brought up a good point. At some point, that acreage will probably get developed, and very unlikely that Park City would be the one doing the development. And, you know, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we not pursue this based on, you know, the viability of it being a positive for Park City.
Okay. John?
Second.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And that motion passes 6-1. That brings us to governing body remarks, and we'll start with Jim.
I have no remarks tonight.
Joel?
Nothing.
George?
Everyone have a safe New Year.
All right. Tom?
I don't have anything.
Gary?
Nothing this evening.
George?
Also safe and Happy New Year.
John?
I have nothing. I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Gary?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes 7-0.